ULSvSHA, folks, the final round is in the bag. We've got the quarterfinals lined up for a few weeks' time. We'll go through the final round, some of the key events, stats, and whatnot. We'll try and rush because the sun is about to go down. I'm way behind schedule. But yeah, and you guys can let me know your thoughts. Also, before we start, I got a package from Francois. Thank you very much to Francois for sending this through. He said on a video the other day that, a wee while ago now, that my Sharks jersey was out of date. And decided to do something about that. So he has sent this through. I have not opened it. It's been sitting on my shelf, essentially, for the last few days. And it is, hey, would you look at that? An updated Sharks jersey. Goodness me. The camera cannot handle the Sharks jersey. I've always been something of a Sharks supporter ever since the Super Rugby days, if I'm totally honest, and I think it has something to do with the fact that it is a black jersey. They've kind of always been my team from South Africa. So, man, that's my third Sharks jersey now, but this is certainly the most recent. The other two I've got are kind of ancient, so I'll definitely give this one a crack. And it looks like also in there is a Sharks hat to go with that. Fantastic, man. More than generous. A Sharks beanie. Man, I'm going to be rocking Sharks gear 24/7, at least 4 seasons. And even a Sharks bottle opener. Goodness me. Francois, mate, you have outdone yourself. Thank you kindly for the gear. It's a shame you Sharks didn't get a win, but you're still in the playoffs, so we'll see how they go. I'll certainly have a chance to rock that jersey before the season is done, man. Cheers, bro. Very much appreciated. What can I say? I love the rugby jerseys and happy to rock some Sharks gear, especially when they're doing pretty well this season, if not quite getting a win this week. Right, the games that were this weekend. Benetton gave Cardiff a bit of a hiding. You may notice I'm wearing and got hanging jerseys. Teams that won, but this is the last week we're going to see them because the competition for these teams has come to a close. One of these teams is Benetton, 69-21. That's a hiding and a half over the Cardiff boys. From what I heard, I only watched the highlights of this one. The Cardiff boys had to play a pretty young team, and it seems to have shown, man. 69-21. I can't go over all the try scorers because there were many. Safe to say that Rono Smith had a pretty bloody good game from what I've seen of it. He gets 2 tries and 2 try assists. Not a bad effort. Rutzer gets a big intercept. If you know Federico Rutzer, the big lock. He got one. It was 31-7 by halftime. Reece Carey did get a couple in return, and Llewellyn got one, which makes me think of the movie. What's that one? No Country for Old Men, because the main guy is Llewellyn, and he's got the same name, albeit a surname. So there you go, 69-21. Well done for Benetton for finishing the season on an absolute high. If you wanted like a crazy highlight reel game, and you're an Italian fan, this is certainly the one to watch. I mean, if you haven't seen the highlights, it's well worth having a look because there's some serious skills on display. Gaggio, the loose head prop with an offload to set up the try for Brayley, which Lamaro has a hand in as well. Proper stuff. But yeah, man, Benetton, 642 run meters to 327, 14 clean breaks to 2. It's madness, man. 4 clean breaks and 4 clean breaks and 101 run meters for Rono Smith. Shane Lewis-Hughes makes 11 from 12 tackles in a losing shift. Benetton finished 13th. Cardiff finished 14th. So losing records for both these teams. Benetton actually finished with fewer wins, as far as I'm aware. But they did have a draw in their lot as well. So there you go, 69-21. Second game, the aforementioned Sharks ended up losing to Ulster. I did watch this game because it was pretty big billing. I guess for the Sharks, you'll take a little bit of confidence from the wee comeback and the injection of Grant Williams. He seemed to really add something for Ulster. Man, your guys' defence is brutal, and I love watching Stuart McCloskey break tackles. Goodness gracious, that guy is just such a unit. He's just glorious to watch. There was a weird game where it's like there's rain coming down and yet there's sun at the same time, so it made the rain look horrendously heavy. I'm not sure, but I mean, Ulster certainly started this game way sharper. McElroy was looking really dangerous, and he ended up getting a try assist for the Lowry one. 10-0 lead. to the Ulster boys at halftime. The Sharks had put them under a bit of pressure before the halftime whistle, but the defence was too good. Ulster second half, McCloskey gets the try. The big don't argue to Fussy. Fussy will remember that one because McCloskey, as I said, is a big old unit. But the Sharks comeback did come a little bit with Mkunu getting the try. The big prop from close range, basically 5 metres out. You know what we're going to do, but can you stop us? The answer was no, but Ulster hit straight back. Bellacoon set up that one. Serious pace from that guy. So, I mean, Ulster at 24-7 looked to have the game pretty much in the bag. But as I said, Grant Williams comes on, adds a bit of zip into the Sharks attack. Marius Lowe ends up getting one that Williams sets up, and then Williams gets one for himself before the death. So the Sharks do get within that kind of striking distance towards the end, but can't steal the win, but they at least get a losing bonus point for their efforts up in Belfast. So yeah, pretty entertaining game. Like I said, for the most part, it looked like Ulster were going to run away with it, and we're looking pretty comfortable, but the Sharks made it interesting at the death. Sharks finished with more run meters, more possession and territory, especially in that second half, but the Ulster tackling is well into the 80s, whereas the Sharks are down in the 70s. So guys like McCloskey breaking 9 tackles doesn't help those stats. Williams try assist, 91 run meters, clean break, 3 defenders beaten. Not a bad shift for a guy who came on towards the end of the game. Ulster finished third, the Sharks finished fifth. The Sharks will take on the Bulls, and Ulster will take on Munster. So both sides will have pretty big billing for their quarterfinals being local derby, so they should be pretty interesting. Ospreys and the Bulls, 38-31. The Bulls managed to get a win in this one. Some guys for the Ospreys who didn't make the Welsh squad certainly putting their hands up, but it was the Bulls with the start, man. First try through Tumboy after 4 minutes. Chris Smith gets one not long later, so 12-0 lead early on, but then Reece Webb and Jack Morgan combined, both not wanted by Wayne Pivac. They combined to make it 10 points to 12 by half-time, but then the Bulls start the second half just as good as they started the first with a try. So yeah, they're 26-10 up after they get basically 2 bang-bang tries in that second half. Hendricks has a pretty tidy second half in that 40 minutes he manages to bag 3 tries, 2 of them in pretty quick succession. So it's a hat trick for that man. He was pretty unstoppable. They did have to TMO check one of them, but after a wee look at it, they still managed to give it. But that being said, Luke Morgan scored an absolute blinder in the corner as well, where he managed to grab a Gareth Anscombe grubber kick and force it down with millimetres to spare. So again, if you're looking for highlights, you could do worse than looking at Cornell Hendricks and Luke Morgan this week. Plus, Jack Morgan got a try, as I said, not wanted by the Welsh camp. But anyway, all you can do is put your hand up. Bulls finished with more run meters, 408 to 340. But turnovers conceded to the Bulls, 20-10, man. What are the Bulls doing? I wanted to watch the highlights of this game, so that seems a bit untidy. But their tackling percentage was in the 90s, which is huge. I mean, the Ospreys were still in the high 80s, which is pretty good as well. Tom Francis, 15 from 16 tackles. Cornell Hendricks, 104 run meters, 3 clean breaks, 5 defenders beaten. Massive shift from that man. Like I mentioned, the Bulls will take on the Sharks, and the Ospreys, well, they finished 9th, so the only kind of saving grace for them was the fact that they beat the Scarlets to that Champions Cup spot and that Welsh Shield. So I guess that's kind of a small victory in itself. Dragons and the Lions, I only watched the highlights of this one as well, folks. It's my dad's birthday was this weekend, so I'm spending a lot of family time, not as much rugby time as we would like, but you know, you do what you do. Family time is also important, so didn't see this one, but Dragons and Lions, 21-11, maybe not the finest game this weekend in terms of crazy highlight reel stuff, but Edwil van der Merwe got a pretty nice try. It was only after the Dragons had scored their first one from an intercept, though. It was turnover ball more than an intercept, but yeah, they worked the first one, but the Edwil van der Merwe got one, did a wee little celebration on the ground where he was like holding himself up with his hands. He's got some, and his legs were in the air. It was bizarre, but there you go. It's just worth the highlight. And then Fenter and Dreyer get 2 later on, so there's no bonus point. The Dragons kind of blow one other try where they get an intercept, but then they lose it over the line. So yeah, like I mentioned, it didn't seem like it was the finest hour for the for either team really. Like turnovers conceded is 17 Dragons, 21 Lions. That's among the highest you will see this weekend. So maybe a little bit too much coughed up ball. Clean breaks though, 4-6 to the Lions. Tackling percentage, Lions are at 90, Dragons are at 81, so Dragons a touch low. Tane Basham, though, a bunch of run meters, 15 from 17 tackles, not bad in a losing shift. Edwin van der Merwe beats some defenders, 3 of them, and gets some run meters. So, yeah, neither of these sides makes the playoffs. The Dragons finished down to 15th with just the 2 wins, and the Lions finished 12th with a respectable 8-10 record. Given the start of their season, that was actually pretty solid, I would say. Connacht and Zebre, another 2 teams who do not make the playoffs. Connacht given a little bit of a scare in this one from Zebre, but again, it's towards the end of the game. They kind of ran away with the scoreline early, only to be brought back a little bit. Interestingly, Zebre were in blue, which is unusual. I don't know if I've seen that blue jersey this year, but admittedly, Zebre is probably the one team I've watched the least this season. The fact they've only had 1 win is a bit of part of that, but I did make an effort to watch them a few weeks ago, and they were actually decent. I feel like the last few weeks, Zebre have been far improved from what we saw at the start of the season. But the first couple of Connacht tries out wide, Marbian and Murray get tries. Neither of them converted. They only get 1 conversion, but good crowd, seemingly. And I know Galway can be a bit windy, so not the easiest place to kick from the sideline. Carlo Kana got stepped at one point by, was it Prendergast? That was pretty brutal. Anytime like a forward steps it back like that, it's not a great look. But the Zebre fullback, Pani, he's been pretty good since he's come onto the scene. They did get one before halftime, so 17-8 at halftime. Porch gets a bit of a worldie in the second half to make it 22-8, but that was on like 49 minutes, so Connacht looking really comfortable, maybe too comfortable, unable to really kind of put the foot on the throat. They do concede a couple more tries to Zebre. They've just shipped maybe a bit too many points this season, So yeah, it ends up really close, 2-point game, which is closer than you'd like if you're a Connacht fan, but yeah, they really did the work in the first half to lay the foundation for the win. So Zebre finished with the more possession, more territory, but Connacht's clean break 6-3 speaks to their ball efficiency. Porch has 7 defenders beaten. Carlo Cannon, despite getting stepped once, does finish with 10 out of 12 tackles. Which is actually not too bad in the scheme of things. But yeah, neither makes the playoffs. Connacht finished 11th. Zebre finishing 16th. You do feel a little bit for Connacht with the current structure of the competition. They end up playing Leinster, Munster and Ulster a lot, and all those sides made the playoffs. I guess you could argue it's a similar story for the Lions. They have to play the Bulls, the Sharks, and the Stormers a lot, and all the 3 of those sides made the playoffs as well. So it's kind of a tough ask when you're in a competitive pool. But obviously the gate takings for those derby games are probably a bit higher, so what do? You want the money, or do you want the easier games maybe against the Italian teams, or maybe a couple of the Welsh teams to finish at the bottom? I don't know. Scarlets and the Stormers 26-21. The Scarlets gave a pretty good showing of themselves this game, Really beautiful day seemingly. The weather was kind of picture perfect. And 3-0 early for the Scarlets. I did watch this game. I made a point of watching this game because I wanted to see how the Stormers were going to go as we get into the business end of this season. And Scarlets got the first try, man. Johnny Williams, we chip and he didn't regather it. It was the halfback who chipped it, I think, and he was the first man onto it. So 10-0 lead. The Stormers away from home, maybe a little bit of shock to the system. The Scarlets are really putting up a good fight. Remember, at that time they're still competing for the Welsh Shield, I think, because it was still pretty tight between them and the Ospreys. But man, DRAvLIO gets a half break and suddenly Leoland Zas is gone. That guy requires virtually no space, even half a gap. And Zas, I mean, what was that, like 11 tries for him or something stupid? Like, he is having a crazy season. The Scarlets defence did hold for ages before Roos got one as well. Roos had a pretty cracking game. He's a bit of a unit from close range. So, yeah, that made it like 16-14 just before halftime, because I think Scarlets have been kicking a few penalties to keep the scoreboard kind of ticking over. Second half, Ranell shows some pretty good gas as well to put the Stormers in front for the first time, 21-16. But Dion Furi gets a yellow card for a high tackle, and unrelated, Reece Patchell goes off. I think it was like his hamstring. That guy's just got no luck with injuries, so he's named in the Wales squad. We'll have to kind of wait and see what his recovery time like, if it's just kind of a twinge or if it's something a bit more serious. But there's no score during the yellow card, so the Scarlets boys can't punish. But eventually, CONvZEB goes over after no kidding, like 21 phases. They've got no goal kicker on the field because Patchell's off. Remember, he was the replacement. And then Liam Williams, I've never seen goal kick before, has to goal kick from pretty wide out. And he gives it a pretty bloody good effort, but it's just wide. And given the scoreline, that it was later on, that made it 21-21. So given that scoreline, that's pretty brutal. But then with 20 seconds to go, man, Runnell just glides over. God, he's good, isn't he? He glides over for the bonus point and match-winning try for the Stormers. So 26-21. Pretty well done. The Scarlets finished with 71% for their tackling, which is a bit low. Stormers are at 85, which is solid. Turnovers conceded also. Scarlets 16-11, so the Stormers just a bit more clinical. Jonathan Davis finishes with a couple of try assists. He was genuinely pretty good. Roos, like I mentioned, run meters, 4 defenders beating a try. He is just a big old unit. So, yeah, happy days for the Stormers. The Stormers finished second overall, man. They will face Edinburgh. And like I mentioned, the Scarlets with their 8-10 record, good enough for 10th, so out of the playoffs. Edinburgh and Glasgow, these guys had it all to play for with the Scottish-Italian Shield, Champions Cup qualification and whatnot. And at Edinburgh at home, man, really good crowd for this one too. Get it done 28 points to 11. This one seems to be, I only watched the highlights, seems to have been a pretty entertaining game, but a bit of an arm wrestle, especially in the first half. Pretty tight exchange of penalties, 3 apiece. But Blair Kinghorn with the offloads in this game just seems to be absolute full of confidence. And he played that much 10 this year that he's just believing himself, because he scores the first try after like 2 phases earlier. He's doing basketball crazy offloads. It was pretty crazy stuff. So 10-3 to Edinburgh by halftime. It's 13-6, so a couple of penalties each side. But yeah, second half, the Edinburgh passing just becomes pretty slick for the Bradbury try. It's really quite nice on the eye. 18-6. Harley gets a yellow card for Glasgow, so Edinburgh capitalised with a penalty, 21-6. And then a try again coming from a Kinghorn offload. So Hoyland gets it on 63. So 28-6, it's very much game over, but Glasgow aren't to be left off the try-scoring sheet with Ollie Smith getting one. It's maybe the try of the game. It's pretty nice. I mean, the Kinghorn offloads are pretty good, but that one was Domingo Miotti with the crossfield kick. And a great finish from Smith to get it down just before the dead ball line. So 28-11, that's a pretty comfortable victory in the end for the Edinburgh boys. Tackling percentage, 91% for Edinburgh, 88% for Glasgow. Both sides very respectable, but Edinburgh obviously edged that. Turnovers conceded 13 by Glasgow, 5 by Edinburgh. So maybe that's another kind of key number. But Darcy Graham, I didn't mention him. 2 clean breaks, 5 defenders beaten, seemed to be involved in everything. Like a couple of phases before all these tries, like Graham was involved. Xander Ferguson, 14 from 15 tackles in a losing shift. So Glasgow, they finish within the playoffs, but not in the European Champions Cup qualification spots with the way the system works, which is unfortunate for them, but still playoffs. They get to face Leinster. Congratulations. And Edinburgh 7th, they get the Stormers. So tough ask for either of these sides. 7th and 8th are both looking like pretty hard spots, but we'll see how you go. You got to be in it to win it. Last one, Leinster and Munster. I would normally watch this game because it's just such big billing, but I was spoiled to the result when I was looking on the news, and I thought, man, 35-25. And I knew Leinster had changed their lineup a lot. Like, this was far from Leinster's best team. So for Munster fans, this is pretty brutal. I mean, obviously, going to Dublin is tough no matter what team Leinster fields, but you would have backed yourselves to get a bit closer. I maybe should have watched it, though, because the game was genuinely close for a long time until it wasn't towards the end. I mean, Scott Penny scored a bit of a worldie as well. Like a loose forward shouldn't be able to take kicks like that for tries. 5-0 early. O'Donoghue, though, gets the first try for Munster, and that guy has been having about as outstanding a season as any of the loose forwards I've seen in the URC this year. I mean, there's a lot of loose forwards, like I talked about Roos earlier, who's having a phenomenal season, but Jack O'Donoghue has been in monstrous form as well for Munster. Good to see him get on the board. So 8 points to 5 because Leinster have had a penalty as well. Munster go in front, man, through Haley on 17 minutes. Pretty much straight down the middle when nobody's kind of paying attention at the ruck. So that's tidy to go in front, put the pressure on the Leinster boys. 12 points to 8, but not for long because Leinster hit back. But there's genuine tit for tat because when Murray gets his try during a Leinster yellow card, Munster are able to go back in front. They're able to get like a 22-18 lead, but you can feel, and I only watched the highlights and I could feel it. you could feel the Leinster crowd just getting on the backs of these players, and they eventually get a penalty try when a maul is kind of brought down, which also means a yellow card for Munster, which is not what you need. And then O'Loughlin gets one during the yellow card, so they absolutely punish during the yellow card into some space. So that makes it 32-22 plus a penalty. Each way, 35-25. So 10-point win. Munster finished with the possession, the territory, the run meters, the offloads. But Leinster, man, almost 90% with their tackling. They're just brutal. They make 169 tackles. Munster have to make 110 at 83%. That's fair, whereas Leinster's numbers are genuinely pretty good. Chris Farrell, 9 defenders beaten. Would normally be the most in the game, 70-odd run meters. But Lama, I think he's been out for a while, right? 13 defenders beaten is stupidly high. And Penny makes 20 out of 22 tackles, plus that crazy try he shouldn't be scoring. Crazy stuff. Leinster finished top of the log, kind of no surprises there. They will face Glasgow, and then Munster end up facing Ulster in the quarterfinals. There we go, folks. What do you reckon? How has this revamped, or this new URC been for you? I've been kind of quietly pleased with the way the competition has gone. Obviously, it does have a few kind of points of contention with the likes of, the Lions and Connacht being in those kind of tougher pools. The Italian teams, I think, struggled a wee bit. As I said, Zebre was getting better. Benetton struggled, especially during the Six Nations when they had as many players as they did out. The Ospreys, I think, maybe didn't get enough bonus points this year. I feel like their record wasn't that bad. Did I write it down? But a lot of the games they won by the boot rather than scoring 4 tries. They got a 10-8 record. So that's a decent record. They finished 9th. What did Glasgow get with their 8th? 10-8. So there you go. Like, the Ospreys were a decent team, but just not enough points on the log. So yeah, both the Scottish teams make the playoffs. They'll be pretty pleased. 3 South African teams, 3 Irish teams. There we go, folks. First season of the USC. Thank you once again to Francois for this very generous gift of this jersey band. I'll wear it with pride. Good luck to your boys in the quarterfinals. I know we've got the Champions Cup final next week for you Leinster fans. That should be massive. But yeah, there we go. First regular season of the URC is in the bag. We await the quarterfinals with anticipation. The sun is really going down. I need to help my missus with dinner now, folks. Do take care of yourselves. Let me know your thoughts on the season. We'll do some kind of wrap-up season stuff at some point soon as well. But yeah, been enjoying it. I hope you guys have as well. Take care of yourselves, and I will talk to you guys again soon. See you later.